There once lived a man with no name. At least, none that anyone remembered. He was a traveler, a wanderer, a seeker of something he could not name. His skin was browned by the sun, and his feet were toughened by years walking across forests, mountains, rivers and deserts. He wore a tunic woven from old cloth, patched in places by careful hands. His staff was smooth from use, and his eyes had seen more seasons than most could count. The man had no village, no family, no home. And yet, he did not seem lost. Rather, he moved with purpose, as though the road itself whispered to him where to go next. Some who saw him believed he was a god in disguise, sent to test the hearts of mortals. Others thought he was just a man who had outlived everything and everyone he loved, now searching for meaning in the spaces between. He had walked for years, maybe decades, across scorching deserts, where the sands burned through the soles of his sandals, through misty valleys where wild orchids bloomed in strange colors, over high mountains with air so thin it felt like swallowing the sky. He had seen ruins older than memory, heard the voices of jungle birds that sang only once in a lifetime, and passed villages where children offered him maize cakes in exchange for stories. One warm evening, as the sky turned from amber to indigo, he arrived at the edge of a forest. The trees there were ancient, their roots thick and twisted like serpents sleeping under the earth. This place felt different. The air was still, but not heavy. The wind rustled the leaves like a whispering crowd. The man's stomach rumbled. He had not eaten in 2 days, and water had been scarce. But he was not one to complain. Hunger was his old companion, like a shadow that followed but never spoke. He knelt by a pool, fed by a spring, and drank slowly. The water was cool, clean, and tasted faintly of minerals. It revived him, but it could not fill the emptiness inside. He sat beside the pool, watching the reflection of the sky shift as night fell. Stars bloomed one by one. He saw the shape of the moon, not yet full, rising low on the horizon. He sighed, feeling the ache of his long journey settle in his bones. In the silence he began to hum an old song. It had no words, only a melody his grandmother once sang when he was a boy, long before time took her away. The song was soft, carried by the wind, and it made the forest feel less empty. Little did he know he was not alone. Blank, blank, nestled beneath a broad-leafed plant not far from the pool, a rabbit listened. She was small, with fur white as new snow and eyes that gleamed like polished obsidian. Her ears twitched at every note of the song. In all her life, she had never heard a human sing without fear, or anger, or hunger in their voice. This song was something different, soft, remembering, lonely. The rabbit had grown up alone. Her mother had disappeared when she was still small. Her siblings had vanished, one by one. The forest was not cruel, but it did not protect. She had learned to hide, to run, to burrow deep when danger came. But even in safety, she felt the chill of being unseen. Loneliness settled into her bones like the chill of a deep cave. She did not know her name. No one had ever spoken one to her. She had never felt the warmth of another body pressed beside hers in sleep, nor the playfulness of morning chases, nor the joy of shared food. What she knew was silence. What she understood was survival. So when the rabbit heard the song, something stirred in her chest. She crept forward, paused silent on the mossy earth, until she could see the man clearly. He sat beside the fire he'd kindled, humming, his eyes distant. The rabbit watched. Minutes passed. The fire crackled. A few moths danced in its glow. And then, to her own surprise, the rabbit stepped into the clearing. The man looked up. For a long moment, neither moved. Then, slowly, he smiled. Not a grin, not a smirk, just a small, gentle curve of the lips that said, "I see you." He extended a hand toward her. The rabbit hesitated. Her heart pounded. But there was no threat in his posture, no hunger in his eyes, only warmth. She stepped forward. The fire flickered as the man sat cross-legged, a few feet from the rabbit who now nestled close to its warmth. He had scattered some leaves and berries he'd gathered earlier, setting the best ones aside for her. She accepted them cautiously at first, then hungrily. The man watched with quiet satisfaction. "You must be clever," he said softly, "to survive alone in this forest." The rabbit twitched her ears. I know something about being alone, he continued. The road is long, and the people are few. Kindness is rarer still. The rabbit, of course, could not answer, but she listened. She understood more than most would guess. He reached into his satchel and pulled out a small carved flute. He had made it long ago, in a mountain village long since swallowed by time. He played a few notes, clear, gentle, wandering. The sound carried into the woods like smoke. The rabbit tilted her head. Her ears rose higher. You like that? The man asked. It's an old tune. My grandmother taught it to me. She said it could make the stars dance. He played again. This time, longer. The rabbit came closer. Her fur caught the firelight and glowed softly, as if the music made her shimmer. The man smiled. Once, I had a brother, he said, his voice roughened by memory. We used to sit under the stars and tell each other stories. He would have liked you. You have the eyes of someone who's seen much and judged little. The rabbit curled near his side. The fire snapped gently. In the dark canopy above, owls hooted, frogs croaked by the pool, and the wind sang through the leaves. That night, the rabbit dreamed for the first time. She dreamed of a sky full of lights, of running without fear, of being held. And the man? He dreamed of a home. The stars wheeled overhead, slow and eternal. The moon, now high above the trees, cast long silver shadows that flickered like ghosts among the roots. The fire had faded to embers, glowing faintly red like a quiet heart. The man had drifted into sleep, his head resting against a mossy stone. His breathing was slow, peaceful even. Beside him, the rabbit kept watch, her body curled in a tight ball, ears flicking at distant sounds. She was warm, but she did not rest. A deep rumble stirred from the man's stomach. A hunger that sleep could not silence. The rabbit's ears twitched. She turned her head and studied him. His face in the moonlight looked worn, almost fragile. The lines around his mouth told of sorrow, and the deep shadows beneath his eyes told of years searching, wanting, waiting. There was strength in his body, yes, but also quiet desperation. He had gone without food for too long. Even kindness could not feed the belly. And yet, he had offered her warmth, companionship, music. He had not tried to trap her or frighten her. He had simply seen her, and in seeing, honored her. The rabbit stood slowly. She padded softly around the man and faced the sky. The moon above glowed with an almost ethereal light now, large and low, as though it too had drawn closer to listen. In the world of the forest there were no words for duty or sacrifice. But she knew, as instinctively as she knew how to run or hide, that this moment mattered. She turned and nudged the man gently. He stirred. She nudged again, this time firmer. He blinked awake and looked at her, confused at first, then concerned. What is it, little one? He asked, his voice rough with sleep. The rabbit did not back away. She sat before him, upright, still. She looked directly into his eyes, her gaze unwavering. And in that silent moment, he understood. His mouth parted, but no sound came. His throat tightened with emotion. No, he said finally, barely above a whisper. No, I couldn't. But the rabbit remained where she was, offering herself, not as prey, not as a prize, as a gift. The man's vision blurred with tears. You would give your life, he said, for mine? The rabbit did not move. He bowed his head. I cannot accept. I would rather starve than take what is given out of love. Still, the rabbit remained. He reached out and gently touched her fur, soft as a petal, warm with life. Why? He asked. Why me? There was no answer. There didn't need to be. Sometimes, in the world of spirits and stars, the why is the gift itself. Blank, blank. The man sat for a long while, his hand resting on the rabbit's back, his heart heavy with the enormity of the moment. The forest was silent now, not with fear but with reverence. The trees stood still, the wind held its breath, and the moon above seemed to burn a little brighter. He stood. His limbs were stiff from sleep, and his body weak from hunger, but he moved with purpose. Carefully he cradled the rabbit in both hands, lifting her close to his chest. I cannot take your life, he said softly, but I will carry your spirit. I will honor your gift, not with consumption, but with remembrance. He looked up at the moon, full now, luminous, ancient. "I will lift you to the sky," he whispered, "so all may know your story." And he raised the rabbit toward the heavens. The moon's light intensified. A beam of silvery glow descended, not like lightning, but like a river of silk. Gentle, soft, divine. It wrapped around the rabbit, and the man and the clearing, bathing them in quiet brilliance. The rabbit did not struggle. She closed her eyes. She was not afraid. The light enveloped her, lifted her, slowly, steadily. The man watched, both awed and heartbroken, as her small body began to rise, not pulled by force, but as if the moon itself were calling her home. She drifted upward, weightless, graceful, her fur gleaming like crystal. The light carried her higher and higher, until she merged with the moon's surface, her shape etched into its glow, curled peacefully, eternal. And then, the light faded, the forest exhaled, the man fell to his knees. There was no sound, only the hush of reverence and the pulse of something sacred. Blank, blank. Dawn crept slowly over the edge of the world. The sky lightened from violet to soft peach. The stars winked out one by one. But the moon still hung there, bold and bright, even as the sun peeked over the horizon. The man lay on his back, staring upward. He did not weep. He did not smile. He simply breathed. And as the morning birds began their calls, and the insects resumed their rustling, he rose to his feet. He felt full, not in belly, that hunger still lingered, but in heart. He looked once more at the moon, now sinking low in the sky. Her shape, the rabbit's shape, was visible, not in shadow, not in illusion, but clearly outlined in light. The curve of her back, the angle of her ears, the stillness of her form, she was there. And she was beautiful. He gathered his things, his worn staff, his empty satchel, his patched tunic. And he walked. Villagers came and went. People offered him bread and drink. He thanked them, accepted just enough, and told them a story in return. The story of a rabbit, with snow-white fur, and a heart full of light. The story of a moon, that opened to receive her. Of a kindness so profound it lifted itself into the sky, and the people listened. Their children stared wide-eyed, their elders nodded thoughtfully. Word spread from mouth to mouth, home to home, land to land. And one night, when the moon rose high and round, children everywhere pointed and cried, "Look, there, the rabbit in the moon!" And all who knew the story remembered. Look up, not with haste, not with distraction, but with wonder. Look at the moon. Look closely. She is there still, curled in quiet peace, bathed in celestial silver. The rabbit, who gave herself without fear, who lifted the world with her love, who became light in the sky. What does she ask of us? Not worship, not praise. Only kindness, only courage. Only the choice, when given, to lift others higher than ourselves. The moon remembers what we forget. She glows not only with reflected sunlight, but with memory, with meaning. So tell the story. To children beneath the stars. To elders before the fire. To anyone who has forgotten that small acts of love ripple across the sky. For in the end, the rabbit reminds us of one simple truth. The greatest gift is not survival, it is sacrifice. And the greatest legacy is not name or wealth or conquest,